This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
All right, we are back. Shout out to everyone that just jumped out with us. Thank you very much. But Remo, we're back. Hopefully this works a little bit better than it was before. Let us know in the chat, by the way, if the issues have been rectified. But Reem, let's get to this tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about the Red Hot Goldeyes in a minute. Do or die for the Sea Bears tonight, and let's face it, it's been a terrible week for the team, and it's been a terrible week for the league. And you really hope for the sake of the local squad and the organization that the off-court stuff with Teddy Allen and the players leaving at the most inopportune time doesn't deep six a season that has looked so promising for pretty much the entire campaign.
Yeah, this has been a record season for the Sea Bears, winning a franchise record 14 games, averaging a franchise high in points, but they've never won a playoff game. They're 0 for 3 in history in the playoffs, and started out over the weekend where you hear Teddy Allen, injured in a downtown altercation. Well, turns out it was at a nightclub. And come on, didn't these people at the nightclub know that it was Teddy Allen and that the Sea Bears have never won a playoff game and there was a big game coming up? Like, they had to give him a little extra for whatever reason they deemed acceptable. But anyways, joking aside, it's a big loss for the Sea Bears having those guys. And this is the nature of the CEBL where, it's a summer league. So you're in between the regular seasons where you had a guy like Moon couldn't get clearance to play. He joins late. And now you have these guys leaving, Acott and Tillman, at a pretty huge time. So, a lot of fans unhappy, voicing their displeasure on the Sea Bears Instagram. But that's the nature of the league. And they seem to say, hey, next man up. We talked with Alex Campbell yesterday. Great conversation there, saying, everyone's going to have to give a bit extra. And maybe Xavier Moon takes over a bit more, because we had talked with Joey Slattery about how him and Teddy Allen were kind of going to have to share the ball a little. So we'll see if they come up with a new game plan and some new faces make an impact here tonight.
Well, a lot of adversity for the team to find their way through. And, of course, the leader of that is head coach Mike Rainbow. Let's hear from the coach before tonight's game. Here's Rainbow on the Sea Bears being without Teddy Allen and now Emmanuel Acott as well as Tillman Jr.
The challenge is the same as it would have been before. Obviously we have a strong Saskatchewan team coming in that's been playing well. The postseason is a single game elimination, so we're going to tip it up, and every possession is important, and we know you're not guaranteed anything after tomorrow.
And this is a question from Josh Ray Salmon couldn't make this night, but he wanted to know just how the team's faring, just with the emotional side of things, Teddy not being here and how it happened. How has the team kind of responded here, just in practice, kind of dealing with the stuff outside of basketball?
Yeah, I think obviously the level of professionalism has been really high. It's obviously a bit heavy-hearted worrying about our people, and some of that has obviously been there, but at the same point, like the preparation that we've had an opportunity to have the last couple of days and time spent together has been focused and on task of what we need to do, and we have some new challenges, but we're embracing those and we understand the test ahead.
All right, there's Rainbow. And listen, hey, what else is he going to say? They got a job to do, and this is the crew they're going out with. But, man, Rainbow has got to be pissed with what's happened over the listen, it started off with the travel issues they had going into their biggest game of the year, that if they'd won, they would have been able to have potentially the game on Saturday at home as well, Reem. But then for Tillman Jr. and Acott to leave, and listen, I saw the post that the team put out that this had happened. And listen, the Sea Bears and Sea Bears Nation have some pretty hardcore fans, and people were pissed. As I mentioned, the coaches, some of the fans were too, and it's a brutal look on the league. In addition, they had that brawl between Scarborough and Brampton, which has, had multiple players suspended for the East playoffs beginning tonight. It's just been, a rough week. And I guess and we'll talk about this in a second, but many people are saying, well, why don't we start this league a little earlier if these guys are going to be taken off right when the games are most important?
Yeah, the league's, look, it's a new league. They're a couple years in. It's evolving. They had, the home city playoffs, which they had last year here with championship weekend. Well, this year, they're finally with a 3-game series for a final. But you really do have to cram it in. They have added more games. We'll see how it evolves. I think people like it. It's been very well received here. But this is something where if you're following a team, the constant turnover, and there wasn't a lot of that for the Sea Bears this year. I think it was last year, or the first year there was also none, and the second year was a revolving door. It's certainly a bit tougher to follow for fans when you have a big game coming up to have, two guys just bounce and one, off to Turkey. I'm not sure about Acott and, Teddy Allen and his situation. As you said, not a great week. The travel issues Saturday. We talked with Alex Campbell yesterday. This is a tough one.
Yeah, no doubt. I see Dr. Terry in the chat. What's up, DT? You're thinking about going to the Goldeyes game tonight, thinks there's tickets available. I would certainly imagine, and probably a few more seats available because, unfortunately, you got to pick between the Sea Bears game or the Goldeyes game tonight. But, yeah, Fish running. We're going to hit that with Taylor Allen coming up in a minute. 11 in a row after their win last night. But, Remo, let's just go to number 3 here. This is Rainbow on losing Emmanuel Acott and Tillman Jr. to overseas opportunities at this point, and if it was a surprise.
It happens really, really quickly. They have, opportunities to go, financially better their situation, and we understand that that's unfortunately part of the business here, but the timing of it is unfortunate, and it definitely does move extremely quickly, and we have to be nimble and try to navigate as best we can.
I guess a lot of teams have to deal with stuff like this. Is this something that maybe the league starts earlier and ends earlier to avoid something like this happening?
That's a tough question. Obviously, the window is what it is. I think it's just a matter of trying to prepare for as many different variables as you can. One thing I thought we did a good job of is having our roster be as consistent as we could be from start to finish. And, some of these things are out of our control. And, you also want to be excited for these young guys that are getting their next opportunity. Some of it is attributed to the way that they've been able to play with their time here and opportunities that they've had here. And it's definitely not ideal for Thursday, but, there's both sides to it. And, like I said, we're really just focused on what we can control tomorrow.
All right, so there's Mike Rainbow. We'll have more on this. Taylor's all on top of all of it. We'll see what he's got to say about the situation. He spent a lot of time covering the Sea Bears in the past. But I tell you what, before the game, after the game, or preferably this weekend, get on down to the grand reopening of the Main Street Santa Lucia at 1473 Main Street. As I mentioned earlier, they had a brutal fire almost 2 years ago and have been working to get the place back open, welcoming the residents of West K and Winnipeg to it. And our friend Roberto and his staff have the doors wide open, and this weekend is the time to head down there. Free slices for the first 200 people starting tomorrow, Friday, and this is going to run right through Sunday. So the 7th, 8th, and 9th. They're going to have some giveaways and promos all week long. You can win some great prizes, including Banjo Bowl tickets. And, of course, they have pickup, delivery, dine-in, fully licensed lounge with VLTs, and a sidewalk patio. Open at 11 every day until 11 on the weekend, or on the weekdays, 1 a.m. on the weekend. And would love to see the folks around there give us some support to a great local business that has been on some hard times for a couple of years, trying to get back open. It is open now. The patio's ready to go. The weather's beautiful. So get down this weekend for the grand reopening of Santa Lucia at 1473 Main Street, starting tomorrow right through until Sunday, and then open hopefully for many, many years to come. Shout out Roberto and his great staff down there. Also want to thank the gang at Clean Line, Winnipeg's residential and commercial plumbing experts and Winnipeg's most trusted plumbers, with over 40 years of fast responses, lasting results, and 24/7 emergency services across all of Winnipeg. They're there for you for plumbing, heating, and electrical services. But most importantly to all of you, when you least expect it, you might need them. Mark the number down, 204-500-2001, for the best in 24/7 emergency services across all of Winnipeg. When you're in a jam, Clean Line has your back. And when you're planning plumbing, heating, or electrical projects, work with the best with over 40 years of experience here in Winnipeg. Find out more on Clean Line online at cleanline.ca. Hopefully the Sea Bears can get a big jolt of energy tonight. We'll see how the battery, the team's going when they tip off this evening. Of course, Manitoba Battery has been powering Winnipeggers and Manitobans through the winter into this beautiful summer. And if you're out in the rest of August and need batteries for your boat, your ATV, a dirt bike, your RV, Manitoba Battery's got them all at the best prices in town. Manitoba Battery, with 2 locations, Logan Avenue, Dovercourt Drive, is where you'll get the best prices in town. You'll shop local and the best in customer service as well. Heck, if you're busy, they'll deliver those batteries to you anywhere inside the perimeter as well. Pop by and see them at either of the 2 locations, or you can give them a call or order online today at manitobabattery.com. And just before we bring in Taylor Allen, if you have a move planned, folks, as we get into fall and winter, make sure you're talking to our friends at Rowley's Transfer, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba, family owned and operated for over 60 years. They do it all, and they do it at better than anyone. Check out their website at rowleys.com for information on all of their services, their history. But if you're moving, top right corner, request an estimate. Click on that. Put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and then simply let them know when and where you're planning on moving, what needs to be moved. Friendly staff at Rowley's will turn it around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment and service that they've been famous for now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rowley's Transfer, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more today online at rowleys.com. All right, let's get Taylor Allen in here. TA, how are you enjoying the bye week, buddy?
Well, I'd be enjoying it more if I would have scored an invite to SummerSlam with you on the weekend. But other than that, though, I guess I can't complain too much.
Hey, listen, I was looking for someone to go with, and I wasn't going to go. I went through this in detail at the end of Monday's show, but I was picking up a pizza at BP at about 11:30 on Friday night, was waiting for it to be cooked, put 20 in a VLT and won 2,500, and immediately went and booked a plane ticket and hooked up with Carter, and then came and did the whole weekend. So it was kind of an easy come, easy go. I thought it was going to be a chill weekend, but very lucky to have that happen. And yeah, no, it was an absolute blast. And I'll tell you what, I saw a few Bomber fans down there, couple guys wearing their Bomber shirts, and I looked at them. They said, "Hey, Huss, what's going on?" I'll be good. I'm like, "Man, you guys are flying the flag, eh?" He's like, "Yes, we are, but we needed the escapism of professional wrestling to get over what we saw on Thursday night." Man, I mean, what a time to go into a bye week. Listen, the team obviously needs some sort of reset. The fans, I think, needed to get away, despite how well they've been supporting this team all year. Because, I mean, even now, a week removed from that game, I still can't get over what, there's levels of losing, and that one was at the top level. I mean, still stunning what happened in that football game.
Well, to go back to wrestling for one split second, I might be making this up, but I do remember hearing back in the day that Brock Lesnar was actually on the Bombers' neg list at one point when he was trying his hand at football and whatever. So could you imagine if Suplex City made its way to the CFL and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers? That would have been something else.
I would have been here for it.
Absolutely.
For sure.
So would I, trust me. But yeah, I mean, speaking of suplexes, the Bombers, that's what happened to them. They took a few F5s as well against the BC Lions. So that's putting it nicely. So yeah, I mean, honestly, the more time we've had to kind of reflect on it and chew on that game and kind of watch the tape over again, it feels even worse now, honestly, Huss. And I can't even imagine how the Bombers feel, heading into this bye week. Some of those guys, they like to rent cabins and go to the Lake of the Woods or stay at home and get some extra work in, or go on a vacation somewhere or go back home, wherever that may be. And I'd imagine for all those guys, I mean, how could that not put a damper on their entire week? So honestly, for me personally, it's been kind of nice to take a bit of a step back from the Bombers and kind of focus on some other things going on in our city in the sports scene. But yeah, I'll be honest, I am itching for day one of practice next week, because there's lots of questions that need to be asked, and rightfully so.
So this is like an entire week off, like probably everyone getting out of town. I mean, Thursday night and practice starting next week, like that's like well over a full week off and away from the facility.
For sure, but I mean, not everyone leaves. So I'm sure there's a big chunk of guys that stayed in town for some maintenance work and just whatever else that needs to be done. But of course, every year though, every bye week, there's a few guys that kind of jet off. But yeah, I'm sure maybe this bye week though, the Bombers might not have been as appreciative of some of those guys that maybe did jet off. But
I'll tell you what, the guys are
maybe
probably dreading coming back to the facility. Not that they don't want to get back to practice, but knowing what's coming is a video session in which, they might need to have barf bags put throughout the arena, because I mean, that video session is going to be as ugly as maybe anything. If you're on the defense, that will be as ugly as anything you've probably been through before. I still can't wrap my head around a situation where pretty much what's coming. He didn't even pass for 100 yards. You need to contain, and he just beat it over and over and over again. And then add in a rookie running back or second-year running back that runs for almost 200 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, honestly, you could sum up the whole night with one word: inexcusable, right? And Mike O'Shea, he kind of had a few, maybe excuses is a strong word, but he's kind of saying how, the guys were tired and whatever. And like, I'm sorry, man, there is absolutely no excuse for that performance. The BC Lions, they were coming off of a bunch of road games themselves. And obviously the DAC was very heavily stacked against them with the situation that they were in, starting Caden Salter, who's never started a game before, and having a backup running back and having some backup linemen as well. And the games in Winnipeg. That's just the game that the Bombers of old, there is absolutely no way they'd let that one slip through their fingers. There's absolutely no way that game would even be a game in the fourth quarter. Never mind a game where the Bombers somehow allow 25 points in the fourth quarter and get ran over, get steamrolled. Like Obafemi was running down running through the whole line. Like, it's like, seriously, they couldn't tackle anyone. So yeah, that was despicable, disappointing, whatever word you want to throw at it. Yeah, it was terrible. And if you're a Bomber fan, it's like, what hope are you clinging on to right now? We're 8 games into this season. And sure, there's been a few little tiny flashes, and Trey Vovel's balling out, and Willie Jefferson's found the fountain of youth, and Brady Oliveira, when he gets the carries, he's doing his thing. But like, overall though, it's like you need a magnifying glass to find some names on this roster that are like really kind of jumped out and made a statement this year. So yeah, with the murderer's row of teams that they're going to be playing out of the bye after Ottawa, of course, it's hard to envision that things are going to get much better unless somehow Zach Collaros goes back to the 2021-2022 version of himself and can drag this team out of this mess.
Yeah, there's a number of ways to kind of go in at that. I know I sort of mentioned the defensive performance, allowing 377 yards on the ground. And that is, one thing. The offense, you mentioned Brady Oliveira getting the ball. All last week we talked about, what's the identity of the team? I'm interested in your perspective, because Reem and I were talking about it on Friday's show. It seemed like there was a a stubbornness of the reaction to those comments from Tommy Condell that, oh, we're going to give it to Brady. Yeah, no problem. We'll just do it and do it and do it. They didn't go to play action. They didn't take advantage of the runs. And I mean, then there's Brady after the game sort of owning it because he did get a lot of action, but they didn't. And then the calls early on in the game when they were moving the football in the shadow of the goal line, I can't remember a decision to go for a field goal that seemed to have as much of an effect on a team than that one. And I still, a week later, you know, they hadn't been doing anything offensively. You don't get that, oh, you got a rookie quarterback starting on the 1 yard line. The lack of confidence in the offense, I think, from the head coach showed there. I mean, I don't know where you want to start. Mike O'Shea, Jordan Younger, Tommy Condell, everybody had egg on their face after that one.
Well, going into the game, the strategy should have been, and it was, until the game got out of hand, to play a boring, mistake-free game. Let's give the ball to number 20. Let's not turn the ball over like we've been doing all season, and give Caden Salter and all these other no-names that he's working with, you know, a short field to work on and give them more opportunities to kind of figure things out. So when that first quarter plays out, and I understand Mike O'Shea kills them to leave points, you know, guaranteed points, you know, on the board. It kills them to walk away from that. But I mean, like you said, I mean, worst case scenario, if you somehow don't convert the 3rd and 2, 3rd and 4, whatever it was, deep into BC's end, you're pinning them super deep. They're probably going to go 2-0. Maybe they'll get a first down, but they're not marching, or they shouldn't be marching 100 yards basically down the field. And yet they'd probably be punting it deep from their end zone. And I mean, you'd be getting the ball near midfield and put in another, you know, great position to put points on the board. So I don't get it. And Derek, I don't have the stat on me, but Derek Taylor, he tweeted the other day a fantastic stat just saying how, I think it's like in the 60 something % that teams convert in situations like that. And it's like, well, that's a number that Mike O'Shea should know. And maybe he probably does know, but like, again, he just plays such a conservative hand so often. And when you had, you know, those bombers of old teams, right? When you had a prime Zach Collaros and a prime Stanley Bryant as his left tackle, and you know, Jamarcus Hardrick at right tackle, and Andrew Harris and Brady Oliver and Dalton Schoen and Kenny Lawler type guys, and then you had a defense with Jackson Jeffcoat and a younger Willie Jefferson and a Adam Bighill, who's a game wrecker at linebacker, which this team does not have. And you have a prime Dietrich Nichols and a playmaker at safety and Brandon Alexander and, you know, guys like D. Alford, you know, here for a bit, and Nick Taylor in the secondary as well. Like, you can play it a bit safe because chances are the other team isn't going to be putting up all these points on the board and whatever. But no, earlier on in his tenure when he didn't have a stacked roster, right? But to him, I think he still thinks that, you know, we got the best team in the league. I mean, he often says, and honestly, it's laughable, and not to be rude, but it really is laughable that in the year 2026 that he still comes out and says Zach Collaros is the best quarterback in the CFL. Maybe 5 years ago, Mike, but definitely not anymore. So I think Mike, in a way, is a bit delusional, and he thinks that this roster is still loaded and that they could play it safe and get away with it. But I'm sorry, the proof is in the pudding after 8 games. That's not the case.
Yeah. Well, they certainly don't believe Drew Brown is the best in the league because they had the Elgersma training wheels on him throughout that entire game. I mean, he was 18 of 21, completing everything. I don't think anything was more than 5 yards down the field.
Yeah, maybe. Just maybe we should all be working on those apology letters to Ryan Dinwiddie. I mean, he's gone basically everything else wrong in Ottawa, but I mean, everyone ripped that guy to shreds, right? How could you not stick with Drew Brown? How could you run this guy out of town and whatever? And no, Jake Mayer has not been good either, don't get me wrong. But I mean, maybe he was right to trade Drew while he still could and get a pretty valuable asset in a first-round pick and potentially another first-round pick, depending on how much Drew Brown plays for the Bombers next year, assuming he does re-sign with the club. But yeah, I mean, Drew Brown, he's done some good things. He's definitely been better than what Taylor Elgersma and what Bryce Perkins would be for Winnipeg. But yeah, absolutely, he's regressed. I think, when that trade was made, you ask anyone in Winnipeg who's followed this team, who has followed Drew Brown since he made a CFL debut with the Bombers, I think everyone would say, yeah, this is not what we were expecting. And no, it was a hard situation for him to walk into. Again, with this team not being as talented as it once was when he was last in Winnipeg, and with the fact that he missed training camp and whatnot. But he worked with Tommy Condell in Ottawa. This wasn't as daunting of a task as it usually is when a quarterback is traded for during the regular season. And yet, I mean, he's been pretty disappointing for the most part.
I mean, listen, it was the one game against Toronto, and then a game that they had no business winning against Ottawa, and obviously they got that win against Hamilton. I'll say this, the one, if we want to look at the positives right now, as underwhelming as this team has been this year, they're somehow 4-4. Like, I mean, that is the one thing. Like, you know, like last year we thought, oh, maybe the team's better than they are, but they were sitting, I think, at 2-5 or 3-5 at one point. Like, I will make the argument that they are incredibly fortunate to be at 4-4. But again, you know what they say, you are what your record is, and they're still in it. But man, that loss, Hamilton, Bombers are off this week. They're getting Hamilton, young guy getting their first start. Nathan Rourke's coming back. I fully expect BC to win this game. And right now, like going into that game, we thought, okay, if they can get to 6-3 at the halfway point, they'll be in a great position to take a run at Sask, a run at Edmonton. Right now, I think you're joking yourself if the goal isn't, you got to find a way to make the playoffs. And that isn't going to be easy with BC coming off of a season-saving victory that I think is going to be a huge boost for BC going into this one and this next stretch, knowing that they've got their MOP back behind center.
Yeah, it's too bad for the Bombers that new playoff format where basically everyone and their cat and dog gets to make the postseason isn't in effect this season, because they would probably benefit greatly from that.
I'm coming around to the new playoff format.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, the Calgary Stampeders are surging ever since they, smacked the Bombers pretty well. And the BC Lions, that was a massive win for them. Like, the Bombers could have buried them, right? And that was huge for them. And like you said, they're, a good chance they're going to pick up another win this week. And then, of course, Edmonton and Saskatchewan are the class of the West right now. So it's like, where do the Bombers really fit into the mix? I mean, when the Bombers were kind of having their heyday, making all those Grey Cups in a row, I mean, this isn't a knock on them, but the West then isn't what it is now. There is no free spot on the bingo card with this West division this year. Maybe it's the Bombers, actually, now that I think about it. But yeah, it's not going to be easy for these guys to kind of find their footing and somehow make the playoffs. And this is crazy because, for years, even coming into this year, the talk wasn't about whether or not the Bombers were going to make the playoffs or whether they'd have to once again be the crossover team to the East. The talk was about how this Bombers team is once again in the conversation in the West as a team that's going to be playing a playoff game at home. And now that idea, you can throw that out the window. And again, I know we're only 8 games in and they are 4-4. They should be 2-6, maybe even 1-7. And it doesn't matter what they should be or could be. They are 4-4. At the end of the day, like, I don't know a single person that's confident that this team is going to be able to recapture that magic that they once had and figure it out this season.
Any thoughts on this game tonight? I looked at this at the start. Calgary opened as a short favorite. It's actually gone up to 2.5 at places. And I'm like, well, listen, Calgary's rolling. This is the team. And then Hernan Salas on EST made a point to myself and Dusty today that Toronto's playing Calgary's playing on a very short week, having played Saturday and now turning it around and playing Thursday. And the Argos are coming off a bye. And for the first time all year, have been practicing at home and getting ready to play on home field. Can the Argos win this game tonight? Where are you at on this one?
I mean, I think the Argos are a bit better than what everyone thinks they are. I mean, they had to play a gauntlet at the start of the year as this traveling team, right? They didn't have a home field. Sorry. So yeah, I mean, the fact that they're finally getting to play at home, and I mean, Chad Kelly was very open about it the other week, saying how hard this season has been, how long these guys have to drive to get to practice and stuff. So yeah, this could be a trap game for Calgary potentially. Absolutely.
I'm just looking at what Toronto's done so far this year. They did win in Saskatchewan. The last time these two teams played, they put up almost 100 points. That was the other thing. I mean, this is going to be a fun one to watch. I will say that if you're just a fan. Although the record over to 68.5 in this game. Like, they are certainly expecting fireworks tonight. And I guess from the Bombers' perspective, I mean, you're just hoping that, hoping Toronto loses. Although I guess Calgary's still in the mix this one, but definitely Hamilton and Ottawa, so that there will be a crossover. And then you got to find a way of being better than one of these teams right now. But the pressure on this team to win at Ottawa, win against a winless Ottawa team, assuming that they don't get their win this week against the Alouettes. Or no, sorry, they're in Saskatchewan, of course. easy spot there. And then take it up and move from there, and then be a hell of a lot better when you're getting Saskatchewan back-to-back and Montreal and the teams that are the class of the league. Moving away from the Bombers for a minute, Taylor. I know you were down at the ballpark. Really interesting piece in the Free Press on the catcher/barber on the squad, and those nice cuts have got the guys looking good, feeling good, playing good. This team cannot lose right now. Make it 11 in a row going into tonight to finish off this homestand.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be wearing a hat right now if I got to sit in the barber's chair and get Raphael Peltier, the rookie catcher from Quebec, to give me a trim as well. But yeah, it was kind of funny. So 2 days ago, I covered their doubleheader against the Chicago Dogs. And after the first game that they played, I chatted with their pitcher, Luke Boyd, who pitched an absolute gem, pitched the whole 7 innings. It was only 7 innings once a doubleheader night. And I asked Luke, I'm like, man, what's working so well right now? You guys are on this crazy winning streak. Last year this team couldn't catch a break. And this year, you guys are playing lights out. And one of the first things he said to me, and I was very taken aback by this, he said, well, Raph, our catcher, he cuts everyone's hair on the team. And we all bond and get along and whatever. And I was like, you could have gave me a million guesses. I would not have guessed, the reason for your team success is this rookie catcher, bringing out the clippers and shears and making everyone looking fresh on game days. But apparently it's been making a difference. So the next day I asked the Goldeyes, like, hey, can I come down and see Raph in action, giving a guy a haircut? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. So me, a Free Press photographer, Ruth Bonneville, and Raph Peltier, and Derek Cherry, one of their relief pitchers, were all kind of hanging out in the clubhouse washroom area watching Raph give this guy a haircut. And yeah, it was just kind of funny. But yeah, other than just looking good with their hair and stuff, this team is hitting the ball well, they're pitching well, and yeah, like you said, they've won 11 in a row, which is their longest win streak in franchise history. It ties their record from 2014. So and kind of a fun note too, the last time the Goldeyes won the American Association title was in 2017. And on that team, they had a first baseman named David Bergen, this big power hitting guy. And he also was a barber as well. And he was also cutting the hair of his teammates and whatever. So now fast forward to now, they're playing some of their best baseball in a decade, and they've dusted off that chair. It's getting good use once again. And here they are, in the thick of it in the West Division. So who knows, maybe that's the secret sauce for the Fish, is to have a guy that cuts hair. And, but hey, whatever. As silly as it may sound, it's clearly working, because yeah, they're playing lights out right now.
The cuts look good. Did you not hop in the chair? Would that have violated the laws of journalism, or just no time to jump in? You couldn't take a haircut from a guy that you're actually going to be writing about. You need to be objective.
Yeah, exactly. The laws of journalism would have, not been a big fan of that, but selfishly, yeah, of course, I was wishing I was in the chair getting a fresh cut.
Great stuff. Check it out in the Free Press. And again, the Fish just keep on rolling. They're at it, looking to run the table. And it's so funny, just as far as that division goes. It looked like Kansas City was gone when it came to and listen, it looked like the Goldeyes were going to be struggling just to get into the top 4 to have a seat at the table. Man, what a difference a month makes. They're knocking on the door, and if they keep playing the way they are, it won't be long before everyone's looking up at the Winnipeg Goldeyes.
Yeah, the Winnipeg sports scene obviously isn't looking too great lately, with the Bombers, of course, and the Sea Bears, everything that's happened to those guys in the past 5 or so days. But hey, if you're a Winnipeg sports fan, you can hang your hat on the Winnipeg Goldeyes, who are playing pretty remarkable baseball right now. Last season they were 10-24, I believe, in 1-run games. Every game that just went down to the wire, they were just ending up on the wrong side of it. And this year, I think they're 8-7, which obviously is a lot better than what they were last year. And I don't think they've lost the game when they have led after the 7th inning as well. So they're shutting the door on teams when they are leading. So yeah, this week, they're hosting the Chicago Dogs, who are the worst team in the league, but the Goldeyes are taking full advantage. They scored 10 runs in the 3rd inning last night. So yeah, the Fish are 3-0 against Chicago this week and have a chance to bring out the brooms tonight at Blue Cross Park.
Speaking of the Sea Bears, and I know your colleague Josh Frey-Sam is covering the Sea Bears this week, and he's going to join us tomorrow to talk about tonight's playoff game. But you spent a lot of time covering this team since its inception. What an absolutely disastrous week for this team. And I mean, they haven't even had a chance to get out there in the playoffs, and they're going to be missing 3 players from the starting lineup from the game on Sunday that could have clinched them home court throughout the conference playoffs.
Yeah, I'll be covering tonight's game as well. And I'm very interested to see what the atmosphere is going to be like. I'm sure the crowd might have some interesting chants tonight, potentially at a certain nightclub in town. So I don't know. We'll see how it all shakes out. But yeah, honestly, every single thing that could have went wrong since Sunday has gone wrong. I mean, you guys had Alex Campbell on yesterday, I believe, and he went into detail about how just a nightmare of their travel was getting to Vancouver on Sunday in a game that could have potentially won them the West Division. So that doesn't go well. And then they get home, and fresh off the plane, I guess, Teddy is at the Palomino, a nightclub in downtown Winnipeg. And, you know, we've seen the video circling online and whatever. And obviously sounds like there's more to that video, more to the story as well. And an altercation happens, an incident happens, and now he's potentially needs surgery and he won't be playing on Thursday. And then after that, just when you think like, okay, it doesn't get any worse than that, Jeremiah Tillman Jr., their anchor on defense, their big man, their star center, he gets a contract overseas in Turkey and he's gone. And then Emmanuel Acott, you know, he does his annual leaving the Sea Bears before the playoffs once again, and he signs a contract in Mexico. So this team is heavily depleted, and it's a shame for them because, I mean, this is the best group that they've had in franchise history. They're playing some of the best basketball they've ever played since the Sea Bears arrived in town. And you know, you have Teddy Allen, you finally get Xavier Moon cleared, you know, you have some standout Canadians, you have some depth, and now it's like all that's kind of thrown out the window. And it's a shame that this is what we're talking about heading to this playoff game tonight when this team is looking to win their first ever playoff game. And it's like, okay, well, maybe they could pull out a miracle tonight, but like after that though, it's like, are they really going to march into Vancouver and knock off the Bandits and then go on and win a 3-game series, you know, to win the league title? Absolutely not, right? And it's a shame if you're a Sea Bears fan because, again, literally everything that could have gone wrong recently has gone wrong. And, you know, it's going to be tough sledding for these guys tonight, and it's going to be pretty hard to envision them, honestly, winning their first playoff game in franchise history. And it doesn't help either that Saskatoon, they're rolling. They've won 6 of their last 7 games.
Yeah, well, we'll find out what happens tonight. And as I say, Josh is going to join us tomorrow. We'll be discussing at the end. And a brutal week. I know what big conversation around the league is like, do we move the league up a couple of weeks? It was funny because it seems like you have a tough time getting players here in time to start the season, but would you rather maybe lose a little bit more of the regular season to make sure your guys can play in the playoffs? I don't know, it's young league evolving, but nevertheless, Sea Bears up against it tonight. We'll see what happens down at Canada Life Center. Taylor, you have a good one. Get back to your studying for the fantasy draft, my friend.
I need it, man. I've had a rough 3 years in this fantasy league. So, yes, that's definitely what I'll be doing this afternoon before going to the Sea Bears game. But thanks, guys. Take care.
Have a good one. There's Taylor Allen of the Free Press. Check out today's Free Press. Great stuff from Taylor Allen. All right, Rewucki's going to join us in just a minute. Do want to thank our friends at Princess Auto for their great support of WST. Of course, Princess Auto, founded and headquartered right here in Winnipeg, and now the home of their incredible new flagship store at 500 Panet Road, 105,000 square feet of literally everything for you to finish up those projects or start something new is waiting for you. Make sure to go see our pal Reed Carruthers in the shop, try out some new tools, work on some stuff, get some great guidance from the experts at Princess Auto. Come hungry, grab a smash burger, maybe try out a crossbow or some archery while you're at it, and check out everything waiting for you at the incredible new Princess Auto, 500 Panet Road. And as always, you can shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. We have a Chud's Power Sports Power Poll coming up a little later on for the Canadian Football League. But right now, as we get ready for another beautiful Manitoba summer weekend, you might want to head down and see the Derminator and the great people at Chud's Power Sports for the best in new and used motorcycles, ATVs, side-by-sides, golf carts, boats and outboard motors, RVs, Argos, off-road vehicles, and of course snowmobiles as well. As winter is not just around the corner, but it is inevitable, and they've got great stuff for 2027 right now. Pop by and see them at Highway 8 and 231. 80 years in the business. Chud's Power Sports in Gimli. And you can also get shopping early at chudspowersports.com. Check out the True North Parts link as well for amazing deals on clearance, gear, and accessories from the top brands. And I see Dr. Terry was in the chat thinking about heading down to the ball game tonight. Dr. Terry and his wonderful staff at St. Vital Dental Center would love to see you down there for your next dental visit. Of course, St. Vital Dental Center has been serving generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans, and now have a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's Road with convenient free parking right behind the building. And they do it all as they've been doing for so many years for clients from 6 months to 99 plus with a full array of dental services, everything you could possibly need, from cleanings and checkups to things like dental surgeries and dental implants. They've got it all. So why don't you make an appointment? StVitalDental.ca for your entire family, a long-term home. You'll be in good hands with Dr. Terry and the great people at St. Vital Dental Center. All right, let's bring in Brandon Rewucki for a few. Rue, what's going on? How was the long weekend? How are you surviving through this summer without a lot to talk about when it comes to the hockey scene in early August?
Yeah, things kind of died down once the World Cup ended, eh? It was just like, oh, okay, we got a couple of months of nothing here, but we're doing good. Yeah, we're getting closer to. I do like the season starts a bit earlier this year. We're getting closer to my ideal proposal of starting each NHL season on Canadian Thanksgiving, so we can have our own version, American NFL Thursday Thanksgiving. This could be the Canadian version of that, so we're getting there, one step at a time.
Yeah, well, I mean, they can't wait anymore until Canadian Thanksgiving if you want to jam 84 games and a player break into it. Although the schedule's pretty interesting. I mean, the Jets, have a number of back-to-backs. What sucks is we don't have a lot of teams playing those back-to-backs. I think Montreal has 19 or something like that. The Jets have 4 or 5. But it is happening. We were just talking about right off the top, before we had to take a little break due to a technical difficulty, of this Pittsburgh move. Did you see this Ville Koivunen deal?
Yeah.
$4 million for a guy. He has 7 points in the league. Now, great AHL numbers in kind of partial last 2 seasons. Point-a-game guy in Finland. Really good in the playoffs. I find it a fascinating bet, though, by Pittsburgh. And to be honest, an interesting contract for the player and the agent to sign up for, knowing that he's basically locked in at, listen, $4 million is $4 million, and 8 years is, he's set for life, I guess, secured. But if he turns into a really productive NHL player, he's going to be underpaid for the duration of the contract. And this is obviously a player that Pittsburgh thinks can stick around for a while and is willing to go ahead. You don't see a lot of these for guys that have barely played in the National Hockey League. And I'm not surprised maybe that it came from Pittsburgh and Dubas at the helm.
Yeah, look, I hope it works out well for him. It does reek of smartest guy in the room contract, doesn't it? Like, we know something that nobody else knows. I mean, totally honest, saw the deal. I was like, am I missing something on who Koivunen, like, was he a goalie that lit it up in the other? Like, just try, like, I just haven't really, wasn't like an overly high pick or any, like, it's just, they went all in on this guy. They believe in him. So I think that part of it's cool from a player perspective, that I have a team that legitimately believes in me, but man, his agent and the player were probably like, I wonder how they were able to sign without laughing too hard, because you don't see teams jump in like that. And man, we see so many of those quad A types, who they'll light up the AHL and Europe, and it's just a different story when you get to the NHL. So I have my doubts on this. And even if I was Pittsburgh and I was really high on him, like, to jump all in like this, would it really kill your cap if you slow play it a bit and see what he's able to do? I get $4 million now isn't $4 million 5 years ago, but I think it's stunning. Like, you know, I wouldn't have done it. I'm kind of at a loss for words that they went all in here. So it'll be intriguing to see where the kid lines up and how much responsibility he gets right out of the gate.
I like the way you put it. There's some smartest guy in the room vibes for it, because I tell you what, if he pops, they'll say, I told you so. But there's a lot of risk that goes into it. Although, who knows, in 4 or 5 years, I mean, $4 million might be just, another line on the, I mean, it'll still be significant. It's still a player. It's still a contract and all that. But I don't think a lot of people had 8-year deals for Ville Koivunen on their bingo card on this Thursday, August 6th. Speaking of those Quad A AHL players, and I'm not sure that certainly based on what and the production of the Manitoba Moose, we could kind of put any of the Jet prospects into that group yet, because the one thing that they haven't done is put up numbers like Koivunen has at the American Hockey League level. But when we project into next season, who are you highest on when it comes to potentially making an impact in the NHL? Braden Yeager, Brad Lambert, Isaac Rosane, and we can't forget about Nikita Chibrikov, who is on a one-way contract for this year, which might help him get maybe a bit more of an opportunity than last season's play would have afforded him.
Yeah, it's a tough call, and the thing is, I still wonder about the mix in the middle six specifically, because as it stands right now, unless the Jets either pull a Hellebuck trade out or maneuver something else, they're going to have a lot of the same type of players angling for a position there and some opportunity. And I'm not overly hopeful or optimistic that we see like a 50 or a 60 point breakout. I really liked Brad Lambert's game though down the stretch last year. Like, that was just a different player that we had seen than before. And I wonder if we all know, like, everybody following the Moose and following the Jets since he's been drafted, what's his biggest issue? Arguably, it's just consistency. And like the effort and the energy level shift after shift. The skill's there for him, but is he going to do enough of the other things to be a contributor at the NHL level? And I thought he took a big leap last year, once he got the call up. I was really, really pleased with his level of play. And so if he's one of the guys that gets that initial opportunity, be intrigued to see if he's able to roll with that. And, I wouldn't throw Rosane out just yet either, right? Like, he was a pretty well thought of prospect for Buffalo going into the year. And sometimes we see guys get traded mid-season. Some pop, some struggle mightily. And he did struggle. Like, there's no doubt about it. But he at least has some pretty impressive pedigree in terms of scoring at the AHL level. I don't know if it's 8 years, $32 million. But, I feel like people are maybe just kind of pushing Rosane to the side. And it's like, give him an off season with the club, with the organization, a training camp, an opportunity, and maybe he can be more so the guy that Buffalo thought that was going to get some big opportunity for them last year, and now he gets that chance this year.
Yeah, I'm intrigued about Yeager in that it seems like they're kind of more ready to see him. I think they're pretty confident in his defensive abilities. Like, I think a lot of what Brad Lambert in the past, especially if you're playing up in the lineup, the potential to end up with a -3 or -4 was significant. And I think that's always in the back of the mind of coaches, especially on a team like the Jets that have at least tried to play with a defensive identity, some years better than others. But Lambert, I think, is getting it a little bit more, and I think he'll be there. The Yeager one is interesting because, like, I've got a lot of time for Yeager potentially getting fourth line minutes in the NHL. And, he won't be leaned on to have to score a ton. If you can maybe get comfortable play a good role on a successful fourth line and, get that offensive confidence, as things go on. Maybe you move up a little bit for there. But I'm sort of with you on this, like a full training camp for Rosén. He certainly is the most accomplished player at the AHL level. In a real sort of make it or break it situation, I think, for him as an NHLer with Winnipeg after the time he's played with Buffalo. I'm not sure that he doesn't get that first shot if there is a spot in the top 6. But that's going to be a playoff battle, I think. I mean, I think Yager and Chibrikov are sort of in a different category, although they love for Yager to eventually be able to play top 6 minutes, at the center position. But that Rosén-Lambert conversation, I think, will be something that we'll really be locking into right from the first day of camp, because as we've said before with the schedule, these guys are maybe going to get into a couple preseason games, and it's what they're doing every single day at practice in scrimmages that could very well determine who is on the roster in the lineup the first night and, potentially not on the team.
Yeah, that's the team. You might be looking at second line in the NHL or, having a trip down with the Moose for the start of the season. Like, it's a pretty big gap between what your role might be to start the year. So, I mean, I've always maintained that what we see in terms of line combinations at the start of camp is what we see in game one. There's some level of competition, but, like, let's be honest. The coach has had all summer to come up with something, right? And it's not going to be, for the most part, it's not going to be overturned based on a couple of weeks of practices and preseason games against guys that are just trying to get the rust off. So that's the intrigue for me, is who does Scott Arniel trust the most? And then with Yager, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind he can be an effective fourth-line center right now in the NHL. But I guess my question would just be, who do you want him to be when he's 25, 26 years old? And I think we all believe that the Jets would say that's a second-line center, right, that we can rely on or can give that level of impact. And I think he's got a lot of learning to do on the offensive side of things at the professional level. And I think 20-plus minutes a night with the Moose is a great opportunity to do that. Like, own your offensive game, figure out what you can and can't get away with against grown men. And once you have that part ironed out, like, then you take the next step. Because I'm with you. He's one of those rare guys where it's like, we trust him in his half of the ice. Like, we don't really need to work with him day in, day out to try to, let him know this is the responsibility we're asking of. It's like, we want your ceiling to be much higher than what you've shown so far. So it's on Yager. I think it's also on the organization that you can't have the lack of production that they did with the Moose last year basically throughout the entire prospect pool. Like, that's something that's not just 1-2 guys slumping. That to me is a systemic issue that needs to be corrected.
It wasn't even all prospects. I mean, Fagemo comes in having scored 41 in like 50 games in the AHL and doesn't crack 20. Like, and this is like, listen, historically, I would be exactly where you were, sort of the point you were just making. Hey, he's got a lot of stuff. Let's let him go, get confident, play a ton in the American League, put up some big numbers, and then be ready to graduate. Well, considering what's happened with the Moose the last few years, I'm not sure at this point that a guy's made it, even if he's spending more time in the press box, playing with NHLers, practicing with NHLers, getting limited opportunity in the NHL, because I hate to say it, and I mean, maybe things will be different this year. I'm not sure. It's the same people back. I mean, they did not push ahead the prospects at all. And if anything, season after season, we're having more questions about how they're drafting because of what hasn't been happening at the AHL level. Despite the fact that they were a better team last year and won more games, a lot of time they were winning 1-0 or 2-1.
Yeah, no, it's fair. I can't disagree with that. That the fact that Lambert basically scored more at the NHL level than he did at the AHL, alarm bells should be going off there. I guess I'm just for higher draft picks and guys that you think have a little bit more potential. Like, to me, it's all about how do we increase the reps? How do we increase your touches? How do we increase your ice time? that's kind of what I lean towards in terms of young guys getting better. It's not to say that he couldn't practicing with the Jets every single day, but I've always been a fan of like playing 20 plus minutes a night anywhere. I think that's ultimately going to be better for a young guy, and to do it against pros even better, right? So I think we're in agreement here. It's like, look, as an organization, we need to reset what we're doing at the AHL level, because that's unacceptable, right? There should not. It's one thing if a prospect doesn't pan out, or however it may go, but it shouldn't be a team-wide. Looking at the chart and it plummets before you get anywhere near one of the axes. Like it just can't happen that way. So I think if the Jets alter how they go about operating at the AHL level, I'll still lean towards, even if he's not scoring at an insane pace down there, 20 minutes a night versus 8 minutes a night to make him a better offensive player in a couple years' time is the gamble that I'd be more willing to take.
Rue, have yourself a great weekend coming up, and we'll look forward to catching up with you next week. We've got to get into some NFL talk as well during this dark time of the hockey schedule. We will get to that in the coming weeks. Have a great one, dude. Thanks so much.
Yeah, go Birds. We'll talk to you guys next week. Have a good one.
All right, there's Brandon Rewucki. Check out Skates and Plates for more on the Jets and Brandon's takes. We are going to talk NFL coming up in just a second. We got the Mike Sando from The Athletic joining us to break down the QB tiers. It is one of the most anticipated articles of the year in the NFL preseason. And then Pat's going to join us after that. But speaking of the NFL, season is just around the corner. And for all of you, Brandon, go Birds, stinking Eagles. You want Eagles gear. You're riding with me on the Chiefs, Patriots, all the great teams. New gear coming in over the next few weeks at Royal Sports, just in time for your fantasy draft. You want to be rocking the jersey of your favorite player or your favorite team. There is nowhere in the city that has stock and merch for the National Football League like Royal Sports, but it's not just there. We're talking the Jets gear, Vigo Bjork jerseys getting ready to go. Tons of Bomber gear for hopefully a redemption game for the blue and gold next week against the Ottawa Red Blacks. But hockey season is here, and Royal Sports has been Manitoba's hockey superstore for over 50 years. Everything you need, from skates to full equipment, sticks, tape, sharpening. It's all there at Royal. And don't forget about summer soccer, softball, baseball, tennis, tons of bikes, including e-bikes. 750 Pembina Highway is where it is waiting for you. Royal Sports, follow them on Instagram as well, at Royal Sports Winnipeg, for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Tell you what, tonight's a great night to roll into your local Boston Pizza. Saddle up in the BP Lounge for CFL football, and this is going to be a fun game to take in tonight. Toronto, Calgary. When these teams met in week 5, I believe, Calgary put up 58. There was 94 points scored in the game. We expect some more fireworks tonight. So if you want to keep cool and stay on top of the game and enjoy some ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and more, make it your local Boston Pizza. Great slate of games in the CFL this weekend, and of course Blue Jays action as well, as they try and hold on to their faint hopes of making the playoffs. Staying at home tonight, you can always get the great taste of Boston Pizza by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. Assiniboia Downs, great week at the Downs with the Derby. And then 2 great nights over the last couple evenings. They're off until next Tuesday. But as we mentioned with Mike yesterday, the next Monday Madness is August 24th. All those great concession deals, the $2 hot dogs, $2 ice cream, and more. And the Wiener Dogs are back. I was there at the last Monday where they brought the Wiener Dogs out. It was a huge hit. They're doing it again. So if you're thinking about getting out to the track, might I tell you to circle the 24th as a great day. But Tuesdays and Wednesdays throughout August, September, into October, and select Mondays as well. More information waiting for you at assiniboiadowns.com. And just before we talk some NFL with Mike Sando, big weekend coming up. Maybe you got a blank slate. If you're planning another adventure, start with Travel Manitoba. Whether you're searching for road trip inspiration, hidden gems, or the latest amazing festivals and events going on, everything you need is waiting at travelmanitoba.com. If you're looking for ideas on the go, make sure you're following on social media at Travel Manitoba for real-time inspiration, local tips, and can't miss experiences from across the province. Or if you prefer a personal touch, stop by the Visitor Information Center at the Forks in Winnipeg. All right, Pat's going to join us a little later on. We will get more into the numbers on these CFL games for the weekend, take a look at what's happening on the golf. Right now, though, let's welcome in the Athletics' Mike Sando, one of my favorite visits of the year, talking about the top quarterbacks in the National Football League heading into the 2026 season. Mike, what's going on? It's great to see you again.
Oh, it's fun. It's a fun week. Thanks for having me on, and always love to talk some quarterbacks. It's kind of lets us know the season's close, right, whenever this comes out, and we're just about there.
I mean, you and your colleagues at The Athletic do incredible work. This article every year, I think, is so highly anticipated because of the methodology that goes into it. Just for folks that haven't seen it before, how do you come up with the list? There's a lot of work that goes into it.
There does. So I can't really start till after the draft because teams draft quarterbacks that affect their quarterback situation. We can't really evaluate the whole league until we know who took a quarterback in the first round, that sort of a thing. So at that point, I will reach out to probably 75 or 100 people in the league, a mix of GMs and former GMs, assistant GMs, head coaches, coordinators, those types of people. And it takes me probably about maybe 5 weeks over that period to probably get 50. I always cap it at 50, and I try to have a nice balance of the types of jobs that the people are in, and we'll go through a ballot on the phone a lot of the time, or sometimes they'll send me a ballot and then we'll follow up in a conversation, that sort of a thing, all confidential. And then when I get the results, we're ready to go. And I've got to kind of make sense of all of the notes that I've taken on what people said, and try to balance them out. There's going to be some pointy elbow type comments sometimes, but you don't want to be unfair. So there's a process there. And then I think where it's really taken off the last couple of years, The Athletic has done a great job with the visual part of it. It's a fun thing to look at. It's long, but you can kind of, expand or contract each quarterback. You can bounce around. And this year you can even vote yourself. So I think it's gone next level that way.
Well, Remis has a great visual from the article up, and much to my delight, my guy Patrick Mahomes is still at the top of the pyramid. He gets the number one spot. Who else is in number one, and how close was the discourse around the best quarterbacks in Tier 1?
Yeah, Tier 1 is Mahomes, near unanimous. There was one person put him in Tier 2. Then pretty close with Josh Allen and Matthew Stafford tied. I think each got a couple of Tier 2 votes. And then Joe Burrow very closely behind that. So that's our top four. They're all in Tier 1. And then Lamar Jackson's gone kind of back and forth between Tier 1 and 2. He's at the top of Tier 2 after having a year when his rushing production wasn't very good, and people were questioning a little bit how much he wanted to run anymore at this stage of his career.
The Mahomes and the Chiefs season obviously was a real downer, and he got injured. Was there much hesitation to put him there because of? I mean, listen, he got surgery the next day, and it seems like he's going to be ready to go. But that's a big surgery for a player that's been in the league for a while. Just wondering, was there much discourse or much concern about, let's see how Patrick looks once things get going in 2026?
It was raised. I think most people weren't willing to come off of him for that. But I think it was raised that, hey, it's been a couple of down years. He didn't carry him quite as much. Now you have the injury. But also reminders that, for somebody that established, that great, you're not really doing a full reevaluation every year. Tom Brady could have, along the way, had an off year or something. People weren't like, he's a 2. I think he's earned that. So, I think it came out just about right.
Josh Allen, at times has absolutely carried the Bills, and he's certainly a top tier guy. Still waiting for that great playoff success. The other two I wanted to ask you, but Matt Stafford, it's amazing that the conversations we're having right now about Stafford and the Rams. I mean, a year ago right now, the guy was living in a hyperbaric chamber. We weren't sure whether he was going to be able to get through the preseason. High hopes for the Rams, but durability of Stafford, I guess he proved it last year. And, despite his age, he really is playing at an incredibly elite level.
Always had the talent. I think this shows that you can have all the talent in the world, but you where you're at, the organization, still does matter. And we've seen Joe Burrow, he's hanging on into tier 1, but the Bengals are not, probably as good as some of these other organizations. He had a harder time winning. So, that is a factor with Stafford. I think going to the Rams, getting with McVay has helped put him over the top. It's probably revived his career. He's frankly probably pushing harder and playing longer than he would have otherwise.
Mike, moving down to the second tier, you mentioned Lamar Jackson, and I know there's a lot of Jackson people that will say, hey, he's still one of the best. He's at number 5. But just as far as tier 2, I mean, what is the general delineation between a quarterback that is in that tier 1 and the next group trying to get into the best?
In general, it's the tier 2 guys aren't quite as consistent as the tier 1. The tier 1 is going to carry your team each week. We've seen that with those guys, and probably not going to have much of a hole in their game. And when they have to throw the ball, it's the hardest thing to do is to pass the ball when the defense knows you're going to pass. When they have to throw the ball, the defense is more worried than the offense. Okay, and I think Lamar Jackson, there's been a big reliance on the legs. He's a good passer, but I don't think he's feared as a passer without his running. And so as the legs have gone a little bit last year, I think there was a little bit more wavering with him. Fairly or not, 22 people still put him into tier 1, 28 into tier 2. But your tier 2 guys are going to do that carrying of the team some of the time, but less consistently. Maybe they do have a hole or two in their game. I feel like you can win the Super Bowl with tier 1 or tier 2, though, without necessarily having a historic roster.
At number 6, right behind Lamar, is Justin Herbert, who, has all world skills. At times has looked like, one of the true best in the game, and yet has had some really ugly playoff games. And to be honest, hasn't necessarily always been helped out by what's around him. Where's Herbert at coming into this season?
Well, the personnel evaluators in the poll were higher on him than the coaches. I think that's natural because you look at him, right? He can do everything. He's big. He can even run. He can run you over. But there's also probably an understanding that organizationally, they've had Phillip Rivers and they've had Justin Herbert for 20 years, and they haven't won a division since the 2000s. A division. I'm talking about get to the Super Bowl. They haven't won the division. There's probably some reasons for that beyond the player. At the same time, I think when you're one of those top tier guys, and he was a couple of years ago, you got to overcome that. You need to make more of a dent in the playoffs at some point. And so I think we're still waiting for that. And also probably waiting for an MVP type year statistically from him, frankly. So maybe it's this year with Mike McDaniel, but he's got to prove it probably to get back into tier 1.
Seems like a lot of the people you talk to are higher on Dak Prescott, or as high as they've been on maybe at any point in the last 5 years.
I think there's an appreciation for Dak. You talk about an organization that's been pretty good, but Jerry Jones has since he's really asserted himself the last 30 years, they haven't done much in the playoffs, no matter who the quarterback is. I think maybe over time now people are pinning some of that on him, and they're seeing Dak Prescott be a high producer across multiple coaches and be healthy last year and really light it up statistically. Also, I think there's an appreciation now. The quarterback position has gotten very young. We've seen a lot of these guys, some of them I've mentioned, Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryans, Drew Brees, Brady, even the Alex Smiths of the world. Those guys have retired, and that you're left with a very young group. I think people appreciate the veteran quarterback who can kind of stand at the line of scrimmage and knows what he's looking at a little bit, and he's kind of a conductor, right? When you think about the best of that, Peyton Manning, right back there doing that. I think Dak can do that to a degree that a lot of the young guys can't, and that's valued. That's acknowledged.
I'll be honest, I was a little surprised to see Drake May as high as he was, and he had an incredible season, and we obviously know how far they went. they were very fortunate that with the Denver situation in the playoffs, and they had a really soft schedule. How hard will it be for Drake May to stay where he is in this list when you do it next season?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think he's going to be in tier 2 this next year. It wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't. Nothing would surprise me with him. Like, he could move up, he could move down a little. I think he's going to be solid, though. I don't know if he's going to be spectacular. I think that's an interesting comparison with Caleb Williams, because they both, over their career have taken a lot of sacks. I think it's a little bit of a concern with May. It's one that Williams has overcome a little bit last year. He didn't take the sacks as much. Williams is probably could be a little bit more up and down with a higher high. Can make superstar type plays. Can he be consistent enough with Ben Johnson to make that jump into tier 1? He probably has a higher ceiling than Drake May. But May be more kind of there to stay in that range, I think.
Yeah, Caleb took huge strides last year from his rookie season. And I think if I'm buying stock in a guy, I might be putting more into Caleb Williams for where he could end up. But I have to admit, he's tied at 11 with Brock Purdy. You've got the Goff and May at 8.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated at the discourse of the number 10 QB, and that's Jordan Love. You talk to a lot of people who think that he is criminally underrated, and yet there's others that don't seem to really want to put him in that same category with some of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, I would agree with that on him. I think that, he's aggressive with the football in a way that stands out from some of the other quarterbacks, pushing it down the field, almost forcing it sometimes, but he's gotten away with it. And the production's been really good for their offense. He was helped early on by the playoff win against Dallas. I think that was an early validator that kind of brought him, some acclaim, but they haven't done it since then. And he's, I think he had some injury for a while. So he's risen, I think, every year. He's right in that 10 spot. I think it's fair. There's certainly some Packer fans probably who think he should be higher, but I think he can do it again this year. Hopefully for him, he has Tucker Kraft. I think if the offensive line plays better for him, that was an issue that probably hurt him a little bit. So I don't think he's going to go to tier 1, but I could see him, coming in where Dak is. I could see that.
The rest of tier 2 is really interesting. We've got guys like Baker Mayfield, Jaden Daniels, who I'm sure was probably pushing top 5 last year after his season before. And then Sammy Darts, Super Bowl champion Sam Darnold. He's in at 14 right now. Mm-hmm. I do wonder about I don't think we can call it recency bias because it's the most recent information. Yeah. But if you would have told someone at the beginning of last year that Daniels and Sam Darnold would be separated by 1 spot on the quarterback tiers, they would have looked at you funny. And yet that is where we are right now going into this season.
Yeah, so Jaden Daniels had a historic rookie year, NFC Championship game, showed dual threat who could really pass the ball. A lot of the dual threats sort of lean towards the rushing, but he's a dual threat who can pass the ball. And so he debuted super high at 6. There were concerns about his durability, his body frame, and all of that. And those were exposed a little bit in his second year. And I think that's what caused him to fall. The unusually high debut, followed by an unusually disappointing second season. So he slipped back from 6 to 13. And this got passed by some people too. It's not just slipping back. There's some other people that went up, but he did kind of settle in. And I think this year, maybe after this next year, he sort of gets, if he doesn't get to 6, maybe he's in between 6 and 13. I think the vital signs are pretty good for him. The issues they have roster-wise is one. I don't know where they're at. And then unproven offensive coordinator as well. So those things matter. We talked about it with Stafford.
We're chatting with Mike Sando of The Athletic on his quarterback tiers piece, which is out right now. Moving into tier 3, Bo Nix is at 18. Bo Nix led the Broncos to finally ending the Chiefs' decade of dominance atop the AFC West for a year. But yet there's still a lot of people that aren't entirely believers in Bo.
Well, I think when you have a top 5 defense and Sean Payton, there's some of the credit's going to be siphoned off. I think that certainly happens to the quarterbacks in San Francisco over the years. They've had a great system where Jimmy Garoppolo can go to the Super Bowl and have great stats. Brock Purdy can go to the Super Bowl, have great stats. And you never really fully give those two guys all as much credit as as you would maybe somebody else who didn't have Kyle Shanahan. And I think that's a little bit of what we're seeing in play there. I think it's true with Darnold as well. You know, Darnold's had top defenses the last 2 years, and that's probably why he didn't go higher after winning a Super Bowl.
Aaron Rodgers still at 19. I mean, we sort of, first of all, we don't think about it because we don't even know if he's going to play for most of the offseason, but now he's here, final season in Pittsburgh. Fair ranking for him being there? Like, are people giving him the credit? He actually did have, I think, an underrated season last year with the Steelers.
He improved in the poll, you know. He's a, I don't know if his ranking did, but his average vote, when I averaged all the tier votes, it went up a little bit. I think there's a huge gap between what he can do at the line of scrimmage and how good his arm is. Okay. And so coaches appreciate that. He was voted on much higher by coaches who loved what all the manipulation and things he can do at the line of scrimmage. Remember, famously, if the defense jumps off sides, he's going to take a shot down the field. Or if you're slow getting your substitution off, he's going to catch you with 12 men on the field. All those types of things that are kind of the finer points of playing the position. He's still as good as ever. So that, but yet his ability to escape, he can take some maddening sacks. Physically, his body just can't do what it did before. So there's a huge gap between this proficiency with the brain and what the body can do. And it kind of makes it to where there's not really a spot for him that makes sense. I think he feels a little out of place no matter where you put him. And so when you see him down where he is now, some of the voters were like, wait a minute, you wouldn't rather have Rodgers running your offense? Well, I would, but I wouldn't rather have Rodgers running after the defensive lineman got through the line either. You know, that looks really bad. So tough guy to kind of handicap.
You know, I've got to ask you about the Vikings, with a lot of Viking fans in this area, neck of the woods. Kyler Murray's at 23. I mean, this is a guy, a former number 1 overall pick. He's sort of been in tier 3 the last few years, but I think we also have to acknowledge that wasn't a great situation that he was in. KOC is a bit of a QB whisperer. I mean, your thoughts on just the Vikings quarterback situation, that battle, and might a year in Minnesota with KOC have Kyler Murray in a far different area code on this list next year?
Kyler Murray actually slipped in this thing, even though I think the arrow's pointing up for him in Minnesota. I agree. I think one of the biggest, we talked about, you know, the defense of Denver. Well, the defense of Minnesota is top 5, and the defense in Arizona has been bottom 5. So if you look at the Vikings last year, they went 9-8 without really having a quarterback, right? So I think that's a great situation for Kyler Murray if he can stay healthy, right? I mean, that's been an issue for him lately, and he's just obviously the smallest quarterback in the league with Bryce Young. He should have some production, and he should be able to win. If they went 9-8 without a quarterback, shouldn't they be able to win 11, 12 games maybe if that defense is just as good? I do think that he could take a jump, but as we saw with Darnold, he only goes so high when people know that you're winning with defense and a running game. And so we'll see how much of his passing is part of that. If it is and he wins, remember he got in his contract a clause that he can't use, they can't use the franchise tag on him. He might have some leverage. Wouldn't that be something if he became a Darnold, parlayed this into winning a Super Bowl somewhere else next year? Don't say that, you know, sorry, I thought of that, Vikings fan. You probably already beat me to it.
The JJ McCarthy, I mean, is this Murray's job in your opinion?
I think it is. I think he has the body of work, and I just don't think that McCarthy can do enough to make them say, Kyler, this signing was a failure and you're going to start on the bench. I think it's much easier to say, hey, Kyler's a veteran. We're going to start with him. We haven't given up on JJ. And JJ, we're going to need you probably this year. That's just the nature of the game. And Kyler's obviously had some durability issues. So that just makes the most sense to me. I don't know how you could have the locker room be excited about another year of JJ McCarthy in week 1. I don't see it.
Before we go, I got to ask you about 2 rookies from last year. They're 24 and 26 on the list. Jackson Dart with the Giants and Tyler Shuck with the Saints. And I think that if you haven't watched the Saints or you just figured that they sucked and you're not in fantasy, you might not have seen just how much he popped at times last year. Just a quick thought on those two and their potential to be much higher on that list next season.
I think Shuck will be higher than Dart in a year. I think that's true. I think Shuck was higher among the voters who played him, but he only played half the season. So there's a lot of guys who just gave him a 4, not enough information, tier 4, don't have enough info. That's suppressing him artificially. And whereas I think Dart had a little bit more people that saw him. He played, was in New York and was, a higher draft pick and those types of things. So I feel like Dart's problem is just going to be staying healthy because of his style of play is not sustainable. And he hasn't shown to me enough willingness or to talk about, protecting his body. He just wants to stick his head in there. And you can't do that at that position. In the NFL, you're not going to last. Whereas I think Shook's somebody who knows how to play the position and has a good coach in Kellen Moore for offense. I think they're building the team in a generally decent way there. And with a whole off season and his approach to things from everything I've heard, I think he makes a jump.
2026 quarterback tiers, how 50 executives and coaches rank 35 veteran quarterbacks. It's up at The Athletic from Mike Sando. Mike, enjoy the season. Thanks so much for doing this. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Sure appreciate it.
All right, good stuff with Mike Sando. Cannot wait to get going with our weekly NFL WST winners pick shows with Pat, Jake. I think we're going to get Connor involved more. He's got picks, he's got takes. And I was out with Connor last night, letting him know that we're going to spice it up a little bit, working on a few different formats, a yearly competition for the boys. So we did those at 10 a.m. on Fridays throughout the NFL season. So we'll confirm all of that, but just wait for the rollout. We'll get to some preseason stuff as well in the next few weeks with the boys over at CoolBet. Pat's going to jump on in just a second. But big game tonight at the ballpark for the Fish. And this is the throwback night. Goldeyes going to be wearing the 1994 inaugural season jerseys. And I think the first 500 fans through the gates when they open at 5:30 are going to be getting a retro Goldeyes bumper sticker, which will be very cool for hardcore Goldeye fans to get their hands on. But the bottom line is this is the hottest team in baseball, maybe anywhere. 11 wins in a row. They're just 2.5 back on Kansas City. And with a win tonight over the Chicago Dogs, will be a perfect 7-0 on this homestand before hitting the road. Of course, goldeyes.com/tickets. Get them in advance. Get them in your phone, on your wallet for easy entry. And then drink, eat, and cheer the hottest team in the American Association, the Winnipeg Goldeyes, tonight at Blue Cross Park. Fishing season still pulling some monsters out at Aikens Lake. Of course, man, I'm going to get out there in September. I've never been out there beforehand, that late in the season. I'm really looking forward to seeing what it's like late in the year. But of course, they're planning and booking well into 2027 right now. So if you're already thinking about next year, or maybe seeing if there's a spot availability this season, get in touch, aikenslake.com. You can get and be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg. And as incredible as the world-class fishing is, it's the hospitality that makes the Aikens experience something truly special. Again, aikenslake.com and at Aikens Lake on all the social channels for more information on that. Patty's just about to jump on. Quick Breezy Bend golf report. It's the Wyndham Championship, and Bo Hostler, 61, 9 under par, first round for Bo. And our buddy Sahith Theegala is at 7 under, along with the Gim Reaper, Doug Gim. Great starts. Now, Patty and I have our Sunday sweat club of Tom Kim, Hideki Matsuyama, and Justin Koivu, all to be top 20. Tom Kim had a nice, tidy 5 under par. He's T9. Decky is looking good right now. He is, I believe, T16. Wait, did Hideki just have a... he just had a bogey. He's T27, but right there in the mix. And the kid, Jackson Koivu, just 2 weeks removed from his first PGA Tour win, just making the turn right now at 1 under par. We'll stay on that, of course. Going to be getting up to Breezy on the weekend. It is in just such incredible shape. Cannot wait to do it. If you're thinking about, Winnipeg's top private golf courses to potentially be a long-term home for you and your family, get in touch with Corey Johnson over at the clubhouse, 895-7205, or go online to breezybend.ca for more information on membership for the next season. All right, Patty's ready to go. First things first, so let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, let's bring in P. Greggy himself, Pat Gregoire. Pat, what's going on? Big night last night with poker. You know, Hammer, myself, and Remo all right there at the end. We're not the top two, but it was wild with all the bounties still being up at the final table. In fact, I got Hammer once earlier this year. I got Remo last night, although Remo described his survival act as Kofi Kingston-esque at the Royal Rumble on life support and kept on winning and winning. But just an awesome end to our 4-tournament summer series. And now everyone's getting ready that qualified for next Wednesday, playing for a trip to the Coolbet Open in Estonia next month.
Yeah, it's exciting. You can taste it. Talking to some other folks across Coolbet, they're getting ready, doing their play downs, and just so happens that the final table is almost set. Like I mentioned before, you will have a chance to buy your way in if you want. Maybe we'll give away a spot, but for the most part, everyone's worked their way into it. I know there have been some other people who got in the first one, and they haven't played in anything, but I've seen them. They've been playing in other tournaments, keeping their tools sharp. I think this is going to be a great tournament. I think it's going to be an awesome showdown to get that final spot, to get to the Coolbet Open, earn your way to a main event package, a week stay in Tallinn, Estonia, flights covered, you name it. It's going to be an awesome week, and I think it's going to be well-deserved, whoever wins it.
And, you know, we were talking earlier just at the start of the show with people in the chat. This was sort of unique, like what we did for this and the Costa Rica event, because you're building into and basically winning a ticket that's worth, you know, a few $100 to play for the grand prize. There were some people that, you know, obviously it's summer, people are away, but that maybe didn't go in because they didn't think that they could go or make the trip. You know, now that this will be complete, we'll do the trip coming into September. We've already got the hockey schedule. We know the football schedule. We'll be getting back to a regular schedule of games where it's just simply you go in. It's the normal tournament where, I don't know whether it's 40% to the winner, 30%, however they dole it out of the pricing again. And then, you know, there is a thought that maybe for our regular games, we maybe record the winners throughout and maybe do something special for everyone's done. But it will be basically back to the way we've normally done the tournaments, just fun tournaments. Come if you want to play, invite your friends. It's all just done. It's not winning to another event. But the summer series has been awesome. Everyone's excited for next Wednesday. So congrats to everyone that qualified for the finals, and get your game ready because everyone's going to be bringing their A spot for next Wednesday in the bid. Hey, I didn't talk to you. I mean, we're going to get into it. It's a big night for Winnipeg sports, and of course the Goldeyes. If you've just been riding the Goldeyes at Coolbet in the past week and a half, you've been doing well. 11 straight wins. And of course, we've got the CEBL. But I just wanted to get your take. We talked to Jake on Tuesday. How'd you feel about the Jays deadline? You know, a little bit of buying, quite a bit of selling on a season that I think everyone expected would be much better. Happy with what the team did, or did you think they needed to do more?
Listen, I think that they did just about what they could. Sure, maybe you expect a little more return for a guy like Gosman, but you saw all around, like, look at some of the deals. They were, unless you had controllable years, you really weren't getting anything. Look at what Skubal got, like what, a 28-year-old prospect within a couple of other prospects. Like it just, I mean, the market was kind of all out of whack. I think you got some return on some assets that you knew you weren't getting back, or maybe not necessarily even wanted back. You bring in a pretty strong arm that is showing a lot of promise to join that rotation for next year. So, I think if you are a Blue Jays fan, listen, there are probably some people who say it's time to blow it up, and guys like Ernie and other players maybe should have gone as well. I'm not in that camp. I think it was a terrible season. I think if they just had league average hitting at this point, we're talking about this team competing for the AL East division, not just battling to get above 500. Like the offense has been terrible. I think everyone going through a slump at the same time. The bats are starting to heat up a little bit, but I think they probably go on a run at some point, Huss. It's probably not going to be enough to get in, but it's going to be enough to keep everyone invested and be excited for the next year, because let's be honest, I don't see all these players having such weak years like they have. And maybe it kind of goes to show that in baseball, sometimes you catch lightning in a bottle, and you should really embrace things like we did last year. I don't know if we'll get another run with this group like we did last year, but I can certainly tell you it's somewhere in between the 2 years, somewhere in between a one game away from winning a World Series and somewhere between being borderline unwatchable with how bad this offense has been this year.
It's kind of weird in that the Jays have won 5 of 7. They had a big win last night in extras against the Astros. And now it's off to Chicago, home of Kevin Gausman. And I was just noticing on ESPN today earlier that he told reporters that he didn't necessarily ask not to pitch against Toronto, but he was kind of like, could we please not? Did not want to be making his debut against his former team. So he's going to make his debut on the road against the Royals on Friday, and that would have been. I mean, a lot of guys get traded and play their team. You got to do it at some point, but I appreciate the honesty from Gausman, because he was such a beloved member of this team and one of the leaders. That would not have, I think, been a great situation for the Cubs to have him go out and have to play the Blue Jays in his first start.
Listen, a part of me, I'm happy for him, because I think the Cubs are a super exciting team. They're a team that I don't mind at all. I mean, I thought their run when they finally broke the curse and won the World Series was so much fun. And Wrigley's a beautiful ballpark, and they're not in the Blue Jays league, so there's you could still end up rooting for him and rooting for the Cubs. PCA is on an MVP type of season. With that being said, though, Chicago, like I just said, great fan base, great ballpark, young promising group, amazing city. Kind of scares me, because I wouldn't be surprised if his wife and his family end up falling in love with Chicago and he ends up staying. Part of me was hoping he was going to go somewhere where he wouldn't enjoy, because you said it, he's a fiery leader. He's a guy that embraced Toronto. He's a guy that absolutely loved going out on a Friday or a Saturday and pitching in front of this great crowd, and was emotional talking about possibly leaving Toronto. I think there still is a possibility he does return to the Blue Jays. I just think that him going to the Cubs in an awesome city in Chicago, playing for a historic and iconic ball club like the Cubs, might maybe lessen that chance. But as you and I both know, money talks. At the end of the day, that's probably what's going to be most important. And who knows what's going to happen come next season. We might not even have a season because to be honest, I think it might be needed that we have a lockout, because what baseball is slowly turning into, with the Dodgers just buying everyone, now picking up Skubal, like maybe, and I heard you say it, and I think Big Cat on Barstool, and part of my take said it, like Skubal going to the Dodgers might be the only thing that is going to make these players want a salary cap. But all indications say that even that is still leaning that the players do not want a salary cap, and we're probably going to go to a labor dispute.
No, the Skubal deal is still kind of a thorn in my side, and a lot of people's, in that, like I tweeted out like the second I saw it, like let's just start the lockout right now.
Yeah.
The fact, like, it's not that he was traded to the Dodgers. It's the fact that the package was relatively underwhelming and like a package that many other teams could have probably met or beat. But I'll never understand why the hell the Tigers are trading Skubal on Saturday night for that when the deadline was Monday afternoon. Like, did the GM have to get to the lake on Sunday and just take care of business before he was like heading out of town? I mean, you've got the best pitcher in baseball. You've got well more than 40 hours to the deadline. How was that package enough to get them to pull the trigger at that moment? And listen, the tinfoil hats are out around baseball as to why that happened. But it's just part of a bigger spot. By the way, Jays are playing the Cubs right now. It's 1-0 Toronto. Dylan Cease continues to have this brilliant season. Like, I know Schlittler's been awesome, but I'm starting to get a little more excited for that 25-1 Cy Young future that we had at the beginning of the season, Pat. 8 strikeouts already. But this is the funny thing. I'm like, okay, it's 1-0. I'm looking, well, how'd they get their run? There's no RBIs for the Blue Jays. Did you see how this happened?
Insane.
Okamoto scored on a disengagement violation. Springer to second on disengagement. But I don't even know what that is.
I don't know either. I don't know. I saw that everyone was abuzz on Twitter. I haven't seen the video yet. I don't know what that is. But I did see that it was a wild way for the Jays to score. I mean, very fitting with how dysfunctional this offense has been. When I saw it was Kaz scoring, I thought, oh, maybe, he got on base and found a way to score off a Springer double or something like that. But didn't see it, but I saw the verbiage or the ruling in terms of how it happened. Very, very Jay-Z to say the least.
Oh, you know what it is? He balked in a run. He's called for a balk on his third disengagement. I'm just seeing that. Craig Counsell, not pleased at all. And the ace of Spader. Run just scored on disengagement violation. Just pure stupidity. These are new rules. So I'm going to have to go back and get this. Anyways, Jays are up right now. We'll see what happens. As I mentioned, Patty, our Goldeyes are absolutely nuclear right now. They're winning every night. And we've got a big one tonight for the Sea Bears at home. It was a great start. It was exactly what we needed on Friday after that disgusting Bomber game. The Toba two-piece with the Manitoba Mosquitoes and the Sea Bears both getting the win. And I see we have the Win City special tonight. Goldeyes to beat the Chicago Dogs. Sea Bears to beat the Mamba. And that's got a amazing boost from plus 111 to plus 170.
Yeah, super boost there. Went with the Win City special. Forgot about the Toba two-piece. That one is very nice as well. Regardless, though, I think you guys have a lot to be happy with, despite a little bit of a disappointing season, to say the least, for the Bombers. Some of the other teams have been great. CEBL playoffs is starting tonight as well, and it's awesome that it's one and done. I mean, it might not be awesome for some favorites that if they do get knocked off, but I think it just kind of adds that March Madness style of win and you're in, lose and you'll go home. So that'll be exciting here tonight with the conference finals. And then of course, I mean, the Goldeyes, whether they're the Goldeyes, whether they're wearing their throwback jerseys from the 80s or they're the Mosquitoes, these guys can't be stopped. And it's been a lot of fun kind of watching from afar. It's been fun seeing the odds kind of shift. And they're minus 196 here tonight against a good Chicago Dogs team. So I figured, hey, let's parlay the two heavy dogs together. Plus 111. We figured the fellas could boost it up to that 170 and go with a super boost instead of just a boring old boost.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, it's good. And I will say this, and I'm not sure. I mean, obviously this is a league that isn't covered with a ton of media, But there's a lot of nervous Sea Bears fans tonight. We're going to the game. And listen, I'm on that. I've already bet that. But it was sort of wild. Like, I think that odds makers got it right early when, like, the line came out at Sea Bears minus 130. Sea Bears are minus 250 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And what's insane is that Teddy Allen ended up in the hospital after a trip to the PAL. He's out.
Crazy.
And then this is the thing, and it's a terrible look for the league. J.R. Tillman, their most important defensive player, along with Emmanuel Acott, just dipped yesterday for opportunities overseas. So they're down 3 of their 5 starters from that game, and Saskatoon's been hot lately. So I will say this. I'm riding with the Sea Bears, and I'm going to do the old Win City special, but I would understand why people maybe looked at that Saskatoon number and said, like, there could be an upset. And then the other side, you've got Scarborough and Brampton that had that brawl in a nothing game on the final game of the season. And both of those teams are missing starters right now. So the lines right now for these games, Ottawa plus 2.5, Brampton's minus 2.5 in that game out east. That starts at 6. 6:30, it's Scarborough, who's the top team in the league. They're minus 227 and 5-point favorites. The Sea Bears are 4.5-point favorites against Saskatoon. Mamba plus 180, Sea Bears minus 250. And then the Vancouver Bandits are the biggest favorite of them all at minus 385, although they have had a couple tight and tough games against Edmonton so far this year. So if you do want to put something together on the CEBL before tonight's big night of playoff action, do that now. Here are the futures. Right. No,
just quickly before you get to the futures, because you mentioned if you want to put something together, there is already something together. If you want to just go with those favorites with it, Brampton, Scarborough, then you've got the Sea Bears and Vancouver. You can get that in the combo cards plus a 367, boosted it up from 310. So another really good number on that if you want to just ride with the favorites. Of course, though, I mean, the likelihood of all 3 or 4 winning, probably high, but in the CBL, man, 1 game elimination, maybe there's a chance one of those underdogs knocks someone off. Hopefully for the folks watching and you guys in the building tonight, hopefully it's not the Sea Bears, but we'll see. Have to see what happens.
Here's the league odds right now as we're down to 8 teams in the playoffs, which begin tonight. Scarborough plus 175, Vancouver plus 225. Both of those teams will be at home until the finals if they win tonight. The Sea Bears are plus 425. Saskatoon is 525. And then you've got Brampton at 11-1, Ottawa 12-1, Niagara 15-1, and the Edmonton Stingers 20-1. So all of that is up right now in the combo cards. And, of course, we should get to the Canadian Football League. And just before we take a look at tonight's game, we do have in the exclusives the CFL 110 boost. Stamps to win. Riders minus 7.5. Alouettes minus 3.5. That number's 610. And you know, we got it in at a great time. Like, Calgary's now a 2-point favorite. The Alouettes are 4-point favorites. Riders 7.5, but I've seen it get as high as 8.5 or 9 around. So we got a great number on that if you want to ride with myself and Hammer. But I am a little nervous about this Calgary pick tonight. And it was pointed out to me by Hernan earlier today. And it was a great observation. I mean, Calgary played on Saturday. Quick turnaround to the Thursday night game. Very short week, while the Argos are coming off a bye week and playing for their first time at home. So I'm not sure I would normally go and just play that game on its own. But I'll tell you what, Pat. If you like points, tune in tonight. This has to be a record. The total for this game is 68.5. And to be honest, it makes sense because these teams combined for 94 when they played earlier this year. It's kind of funny that you see a 68.5 and think, I think I still might take the over. But these two teams know how to score. The defenses haven't been particularly well, and it's shaping up for a fun night. Did you get the all-you-can-eat ticket at BMO for tonight? They sold them all out, and I think there'll be a lot of aspiring Joey Chestnuts showing up to the ball game tonight.
Listen, I'm bummed because I saw that there was the all-you-can-eat. I also saw the throwback shirt giveaways that they're giving, the John Candy Memorial, like original Argo sweaters, but in a T-shirt form. Unbelievable. I am calling some junior lacrosse tonight in Whitby, so won't be down at the game. I've already talked to a couple of my buddies that are going to be in there, trying to see if they can snag me one of those shirts because they're going to be awesome. But, you know, there is a little bit of buzz around Toronto about, you know, them getting back into that building. I hope it you know, they can start picking up some wins because, I mean, it makes no sense that the Argos, you know, can't fill that building at BMO. It's unfortunate. The league's better when the Argos are better, and you know, they're the villains of the league, like, and people care about it. Like, there is a hardcore base for the Argos in the city. It's just everyone who is a casual, or maybe, you know, just they choose to go to the Jays game to do something, and they choose to do the TFC. So I don't understand why we can't get more people inside that building. Tonight would be a great night to do so. So I'm hoping, and it's not for a lack of trying. I mean, they're definitely trying. So hopefully, you know, 70 points, all you can eat food, free giveaways. Like, I mean, if you can't get down to BMO for that, nothing will. But you talk about that number, 68.5. It's got to be a record. I will have to do some diving here to see if it is. It just reminds me of like a Texas Tech Oklahoma game where the
arena
the
football
number set at like 70 or arena football. It's nuts. And you are right. Like, I'm going to take the over just because it's so outrageous, and both defenses are really bad and both offenses are really, really cooking well. So there are a lot of other exclusives if you go over there as well to check that out. Obviously a lot of big numbers for two teams that really can, you know, pass it around. And I won't give away any of maybe my thoughts or my picks of what I did for the pick'em, because probably no one wants my advice because how bad I've been, but I can almost guarantee you there are going to be a lot of 30s and 40s in there when you go to put your score in for the first one. 42 people have already signed up. You still got a few hours to do so. So if you haven't made your picks for this week, make sure hit that promotions tab, click on the WST logo. You'll see it right there. Make your picks. And, you know, like I said, maybe you're going to want to put a lot of points on both sides of these teams because it has a chance to be a big time shootout.
Yeah. And you know what? Listen, if you haven't done it before, even though you're probably a long shot to win the season and win the trip to the Grey Cup, we're giving away $50 every week for the top scorer. And I would suggest it's great practice. You'll just get used to sort of looking at the games, scheduling this out, because in the next couple weeks, as we roll out the WST winners and our NFL content with myself, Jake, Pat, and Connor on Fridays, there is a NFL pick'em. And I know you guys are working on the prizing, but it's going to be awesome. We're going to have all the primetime games, 3 Sunday games. We'll pick them. There'll be a weekly prize. There'll be a full prize for the season. And I think with the success the CFL Pick'em's had, this is going to be even bigger and better for NFL season. So get in, have some fun with the CFL Pick'em. It's completely free. All you need is a Coolbet account. And if you haven't played it before, just build the account, go get in, screw around with it a little bit, and maybe you'll win the week and get $50, can make a couple plays before without anything coming out of a deposit. By the way, while we're talking about this game tonight, as I mentioned, I've been going back and forth. I originally was thinking Calgary. I'm more and more giving credence to the Toronto Argonauts in this home as a slight home dog winning this game. One thing I do know is that there's going to be a ton of passing. The totals for the quarterbacks, Chad Kelly's 349.5. Crazy. Is I think 310.5. But wanted to focus in on a couple of receivers. And Coxie, last time these teams played, had 13 targets from Chad Kelly, had 8 catches, 148 yards, and a touchdown. He's been quiet for a few weeks. I think a big week from him His over-under is 77.5. We're going to take the over 77.5 and an anytime touchdown for Coxie and combine that with Jalen Philpott. Now, Philpott last week caught only one ball for 7 yards, but he'd been over 65 in, I believe, 5 of 6 before that, or 4 straight games, and had scored 5 touchdowns in 5 games. So we've added Philpott over 65.5 and an anytime touchdown. So we're really just focusing in on 2 guys for the exclusives tonight. Lots of Coxie, over 77.5 and a touchdown. Philpott, 66 or more and a touchdown. And we got a nice boost on that one to plus 675. That is in the exclusives.
Love it. I'm in on that.
Talk just underneath. And as I said, I'm going to be at the game tonight, so it'll be good to be able to record it, but I'm going to be able to follow along, hopefully see the Sea Bears win, the Goldeyes win, and cash a few tickets.
And Huss, we can't forget, first NFL preseason game of the year, the Hall of Fame game. I'm not much of a preseason NFL bettor myself, but I will be making a wager just because when I pull up Coolbet,
what are you on
you
tonight?
see NFL
it's the
there.
Most degen bet of the year, the first NFL preseason game, the Hall of Fame game, and what a matchup we have tonight, folks. It's the Carolina Panthers playing against the Arizona Cardinals in week 1 preseason NFL action. I believe the Panthers are a 2.5 point favorite? 1 point favorite right now, actually. This number is coming back a little bit more towards Arizona. We'll probably get to see Carson Beck tonight, I'd imagine.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it's Carson Beck against Kenny Pickett. So should be a great display of quarterbacking. I'm going to go with Carson Beck and the Cardinals at plus 105, complete blind bet. I'm also really excited to see Jeremiah Love. I don't know if you've seen those clips of him in training camp where they hand him off the ball and immediately like 7 guys are already in the backfield, but he's breaking tackles. Obviously, as a Notre Dame fan, I love Jeremiah Love. It might be a long rookie season for him, although he is such a freak, breaks tackles. He's great. Like he would be a guy that I would be targeting in fantasy, just because I think he's going to get a heavy load. He is a guy that can catch out of the backfield. So I don't know how much they're going to actually use him tonight, but I think he's going to get some touches. I think Carson Beck's obviously going to show out. So let's just take the underdog plus 105. Why not? First NFL bet of the year. Let's do it. Let's get crazy here.
Tyson D 204 coming for you, Patty. Get your picks in, everybody.
Yep.
Yes, running man with a nice note. I should have mentioned that before when we were going through the CFL lines. A couple big wide receiver injuries. Emilus is going on the 6th game, and Schaefer Baker's out as well. So that'll kind of change our looks when it comes to props for the game. But I think the reason why I think Coolbet wisely hasn't let that line go. I've seen it 8.5 or 9, and I'm like, what is going on here? Wouldn't be surprised that Ottawa kept this one tight. They were right there against Saskatchewan in their game earlier this season. And I think there's the potential for maybe a bit of a rider lull after that massive home-and-home against Edmonton, playing at home against a 0-win team. Well, still, it might be the dog days of summer, but there's still lots for us to get at. And again, we're looking forward to seeing everyone that qualified for the Poker Championship next week on Wednesday for the trip to Talon. Patty, have yourself a great night and an awesome weekend. Look forward to talking to you next week and next Wednesday finding out who's representing Canada at the Coolbet Open.
Thanks, Huss. You have a good night as well. Hopefully the Sea Bears pull through for you as well. Have a great weekend. It won't be probably as good as Jake's weekend will be, though, down in Las Vegas.
No doubt about that. Take it easy, pal.
Take care, fellas.
All right, there's Pat Gregoire. Now, one other thing we've got to do, Remo, is get to our Chud's Power Sports Power Poll. And this might be the hardest thing that we've done for a bit, is figuring out the top 5. Not that we don't know 4 teams, but because, who is the 5th? But quickly, how about that line in the Sea Bears game going from -130 to -250? I don't understand I do understand probably a bunch of people looking at the favorites and looking how good they were and how they played at home all season long. I'm hoping that they win. We'll be there trying to cheer them on. But, man, to be such a big favorite with the adversity this team's going over, it kind of hard to swallow a minus 250 line.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to the game. I don't really want to bet against the Sea Bears and have to, like, cheer against them. But if I were to place a wager, it would be on the Saskatoon Mamba. Sorry, Sea Bears. It's been a really tough week. They're against it, and it's paying plus money. But we're going to go, and we're going to hope the Sea Bears win. But we do know that it's been a rough week. Again, you're missing 3 of your starters. It's challenging for any team to come back. But, hey, they should be rested now. They've had some days off. Maybe they can come up with some type of a game plan here, and we'll see what happens. I know one thing I do know for sure, the crowd will be excellent. I do wonder if we'll see some interesting chants by the crowd. That would make it nice.
Yeah, no doubt. One thing to do now, I don't bet against my team. Sometimes I won't bet on my team, but I don't bet against them. So you will not see me going to the window and getting a ticket on the Mamba. And I'm not even going to touch the spread. But you love the arbitrage, if you will. Here, if you're confident that the Goldeyes win today, here's one thing you can do. Put $20 on the Super Boost, Goldeyes to win, Sea Bears to win, at plus 170. $20 pays $53.94. And then hedge that on the other side by putting 20 on Saskatoon at plus 180, and you will guarantee just plus 180 on that one to 56. So essentially, if the Goldeyes lose, we're losing unless Saskatoon wins. But let's assume that the Goldeyes can keep on rolling. They're playing the Chicago Dogs. They're the lowest team in the league. No one's beating the Goldeyes right now. If the Sea Bears win, great. You've spent 40 and you're pulling back 54. And if they lose to Saskatoon and Saskatoon wins, you put in 50 and win 56. It comes down to the Goldeyes, and the Goldeyes have been as good as guaranteed lately. So that is something that you could do if you want. I, however, am just going to do the Win City combo. Hope the Sea Bears can find a way to win. All about the X-Man, Xavier Moon, tonight. He's going to earn that check this evening. And it will be great to see the likes. I think Simon Hildebrand could be real key tonight, as we talked with Alex Campbell yesterday. Mason Krause. But it is all hands on deck tonight for the Sea Bears to get this win tonight. And again, as Pat mentioned, you still have time to get your picks in for the week in the Canadian Football League in the WST Coolbet Pick'em League over at Coolbet. All right, let's get to a Chud's Power Sports Power Poll. And Remo, it's the CFL top 5 right now. And this was not easy to do. I think you can make arguments for some of the top teams in the order that they come in. But I'll tell you what, and I'll just put this. Let's do another Not Autocorp Why Not question of the day for Not over at Waverly and McGillivray. Who should be the number 5 team on the Chud's Power Sports Power Poll? Because, Remis, as we start this up, I don't have the stomach to put any team at number 5. BC's got 2 wins. They're not there. Ottawa hasn't won all season long. Hamilton has been a disaster since Bo Levi Mitchell has been out. Toronto is still very much a team that I think will get better throughout the season, but I'm not sure there. And I'll tell you what, the Bombers may be 4-4, but I don't think there's anyone of any Bomber fan, even the most loyal Bomber fan, that could make this case that the Bombers should be number 5 on that power poll, considering what has happened as of late to the squad.
Yeah, I'm not putting the Bombers number 5 after that, and I'd actually put BC with Nathan Rourke at quarterback. He was a big preseason, but they were terrible with him in there. So, but I do think they have an opportunity to turn their season around here with a win. They're at home against Hamilton, who's also got quarterback issues. They're starting Frost at quarterback, who came in after they bench Trey Ford last week. The other team to consider, Toronto. And now that they're finally able to play a home game, are they a team that can make a run? Their defense, not very good, but Chad Kelly, when healthy, he's a quality quarterback. So we'll see what happens after this week. But Huss, you and I talked about it. We put in our power poll. We put number 5. No one there. It's a first in history. No one's at number 5. Let's see this week who can earn it. You know, maybe like the Bombers by default because they're 4-4, but we all watched the last 2 games. Did not go well.
Normally at 4-4, the Bombers would get that spot, but no, there's no way. I mean, I can't with a straight face say, oh yeah, the Bombers are in the power poll right now after what we saw giving up 377 on the ground. So, hey, Argos win tonight. If we did this tomorrow, they would be number 5. They'll have an opportunity to do it, but Toronto, Hamilton, Ottawa, Winnipeg, BC, none of you are getting in the power poll right now, and we'll see who eventually does deserve it as we continue. Of course, the power poll is for our friends at Chud's Power Sports, corner of Highway 8 and 231 in Gimli, Manitoba's Power Sports Superstore for over 80 years. Check them out online at chudspowersports.com. 4, we've got the Calgary Stampeders. 3, the Saskatchewan Roughriders. 2 is the Edmonton Elks. And number 1 with the bullet, Davis Alexander and the Montreal Alouettes. I think we nailed it here, although I could make an argument that the Riders are 2 and Edmonton 3. The one thing that we did, I mean, they had this great home and home, Remo. Both games came down to, you know, a 1 point and a 2 point win. Not a lot to choose between these two teams. You could almost have them tied at 2. And how about this? Last game of the season, final week, final game is Edmonton and Saskatchewan. And that could potentially be for first place in the West and a bye the following week.
Yeah, but Saskatchewan's got some major injuries right now, so I'm putting them behind Edmonton. They split the series, so I don't think that really determines anything. I like the way Edmonton's look. They've got a tough test, though, this weekend in Montreal.
No doubt. Alouettes, the team to beat right now. But after that, it's the top 3 teams in the West: Edmonton, Saskatchewan, Calgary. And number 5 on this week's Chud's Power Poll is no one. We'll find out tomorrow whether the Argos are kind of making the case that they should be in if they can get to 4-4 tonight. That is going to do it for us. Shout out to everyone that joined us today. Thanks to our guests, Brandon Rewucki, Pat Gregoire, Mike Sando, and Taylor Allen. We'll have a big one tomorrow. We will recap hopefully a Sea Bears playoff win and not this season with Josh Frey-Sam, who's going to join us. We'll also welcome in the Hammer, talk some CFL, some Jets. It's always good stuff with Hammer. Ben Kramer, Hacksaw coming on tomorrow. So a bunch of football talk heading into the weekend. And, of course, maybe Hacksaw can break down the Hall of Fame game. Not many people will be watching it. I'm sure Hacksaw will be paying attention to it. That is tonight as well. Huge thanks to all of our sponsors for making for their support of WST, and all of you for making us a part of your day. That is going to do it for us. For Michael Remis, I'm Andrew Paterson. Have a great night. Go Fish. Go Sea Bears. We'll be at the basketball game. Maybe we'll see you there. If not, we will see you tomorrow, 1 p.m. right here on WST.
Oh, my God. Oh! Shut it down. Let's go home.
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.